Okay, I'm Teresa Nannucci. I'm here on behalf of Cinematograph. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Great.
Thank you. So the first question is that the main character, Lindsay and James, are living similar situations. They're both struggling with grief and injuries and everything, but they come from different social backgrounds. How do you think this element influenced their story?
I think it influenced it in a huge way because the thing is that they realized that they had more alike than they did different. We Jen and I talked a lot about that because the interesting thing about both of their characters is that they're both New Orleans natives. They lived in the same area. Some of their siblings or family members went to the same schools, but they didn't know each other at all. And I feel like that reflected a lot about what we, Jennifer and I, were talking about going through in 2020, right? So 2020 was a terrible year. It was just like we went through all different kind of trials and tribulations and losses, so social discourse, just all different kinds of things. So when we shot this movie in 2019, the movie primarily focused on Lindsay's trajectory, what it was like for her to come back with her disability, what it was like for her to figure out her life with her mom. There was even a part where we saw her back at war and things like that. But then as we started shooting it or came close to the end of filming it, we realized that there was a connection that was happening between my character and Jen's character that we wanted to explore even more because of that, because of them being so different and actually really truly more similar than they knew. There's something interesting about connecting with somebody through trauma, um, because it's in essence where you can kind of lay everything out on the table and everything is exposed, and then you can either like steep in that or you can clear the table of that trauma and actually figure out what your connection is with one another. And I think that Jen and I were doing that on set. We literally would talk in between takes and find out like what was going on with each other, calling each other out on our stuff, and like and we were like, oh, that in essence is who James and Lindsay are and what they could benefit from, honestly. Also because her character is coming home and he's been home for a long time. I think what we discovered the most is that these two met each other and found a way to recalibrate what home looks like for each other. And that's what really helped the story grow the way it did.
The film is also focused on the sense of guilt.
Mm.
What's the main difference between the way the two characters deal with it?
There isn't much, honestly, because what the guilt has done for both of them is it's caused them to stay stuck, and it's caused them to not really see another way. You know, their guilt either made them run away or it made them or it anchored them where they were. Right. I think those are the two options when it comes to the fight or flight. Right. And what you find in both of them when they finally come to each other is that they realize that those ways no longer work for them, and that there is a personal internal confrontation that they've been dealing with that they no longer have to deal with alone. And so, it's interesting because Lindsay is at the beginning of understanding what her disability is, where James has been dealing with his for however long, and it still kind of mirrors where she's at. There doesn't seem to be an advanced level of grief, right? There's no, you don't get a badge, you don't get a gold star or a trophy being like, oh, you've grieved for 6 years, look at how you've advanced. No, everything is kind of in the same kind of realm of having to start over, because at the end of the day you're starting over in some way. And so I don't think what they expected when they met each other is that their grief and their loss and their guilt wasn't all there was to them. They were able to really bring down that curtain and really just be like, oh, wait, there's actually, we can be happy. I think we can actually have a friendship. We can actually like really like meet each other on a human level and not just walk around with our grief and our guilt on our shoulders the way that we have been for most of our lives.
So thank you very much. Our time is done.
All
So
right, no
thank you very
problem.
much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.